A quick rebuttal to a recent live stream with Bev Try Thinking on his Discord server using a very similar diagram to the one below. The error is not in this diagram, but rather in the argument. Let's start with a classic brain teaser for algebra students. We'll start with the premise that a equals b, and then we can multiply both sides by a, leaving a squared on the left. We can then subtract b squared from both sides. If you're paying attention, you'll notice that the left-hand side of this equation is the classic difference of two squares binomial, which can be factored as the product of two conjugates. Likewise, we can factor a common b term from the binomial on the right. Since we have a common factor on both sides of this equation, we can divide both sides by this a minus b factor. Now remember that a equals b, so we can just substitute b for the a term on the left, which gives us b plus b, which simplifies to 2b. Lastly, we can divide both sides by b, and we have now proven that 2 equals 1. Since we know that this isn't true, then we have a conundrum. Either we've just disproven the laws of algebra, or there's a mistake hidden somewhere within the steps. So let's return to Bev's show, where he talked his audience through a very similar diagram to this one. In a plane, Euclidean geometry, two lines perpendicular to one straight line are parallel to each other. Horizontal and vertical lines are perpendicular to each other, and here I'll add some visual flair. Therefore, the Earth cannot be a globe. Let's illustrate this with a map. If the Earth were shaped more like a pizza than a basketball, then all flagpoles would indeed be parallel, since vertical lines are always perpendicular to the straight line connecting them. But if the Earth were shaped more like a basketball, then locally vertical flagpoles would diverge from each other, because the line connecting them is not a Euclidean straight line, but rather the shortest path on a curved surface, known as a great circle root or a geodesic. This green line is also known as a level line, a concept that surveyors know very well. Here's a diagram from a question and answer from a civil engineer where the question was, what's the difference between line of sight and a level line? Note that vertical is a local phenomenon, always perpendicular to level where you are. This next one is from a video on the Civil Engineer YouTube channel explaining how cut and fill is done in highway construction. The definition of a level surface is a curved surface perpendicular to the force of gravity, for example, still water in a pond. This next one, from Engineering, Surveying, and Estimating, shows a curved level line following mean sea level, with horizontal and vertical being perpendicular to each other, again, a local phenomenon, where your vertical line can be established with a plumb bob. And lastly, we have two images from Techno Upendra in an article on using benchmarks in surveying. So let's revisit the original diagram and point out the original error. Can you see it? The original horizontal line connecting the two verticals was assumed to be a straight line, which is only true if the Earth were not a globe. This leads us to the conclusion that the Earth cannot be a globe, which is a begging the question fallacy. The circular argument that concludes that the Earth is not a globe started with the premise that the line connecting the two verticals was straight, thus not on a globe. So let's make some changes. We'll change the horizontal line to a level line. On a globe, two perpendicular lines to a level line diverge from each other. Horizontal and vertical lines are still perpendicular to each other, but now they're local. If vertical lines diverge from each other, then the Earth cannot be shaped more like a pizza than a basketball. Now, as always, in the comments, please be kind to each other. Bye.